Welcome to 3 on the Ones and Twos with your hosts, Tom, Cassie, and James. Just 3 old friends talking about their favorite records. Think of it as the coolest book club for music nerds.
What I love about this show, well, it's too many things. But the coolest thing is that we've been so lucky to have friends of ours over the years come join us. So Cassie got to invite an old friend who we all know.
Yes.
But I want to let Cassie say a little bit about your past. And Juan, it's so good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for letting me be here.
Cheers.
So excited, and thank you for
And
coming.
then
so
we're
far
going to give
away.
you the room, and you got to get crazy and talk about what record. But right now, we're passing the mic to Cassie.
Well, so our guest today is Kira Ciliberto.
Hi, Kira.
Hi, Kira. Who is an old friend of all of ours,
Yes.
and my old roommate. And I remember when we were roommates, I just remember you just always had the coolest, most expansive taste in music, and was always going to like all these shows. I'm like, never even heard of that band, never even heard of this band. So you really came to my mind when we were talking about having guests on the show. I was like, I really need to see if
We
she
can attest to that. Because when we came up with the idea for the show here,
Yes.
and within days, it just unfolded like very organically and in a beautiful way. And within the next week, when we had our first meeting,
We were
we
talking
all
about-
wrote
yeah.
down, and she was like, Kira, it's got to
Yeah.
be,
Well, I mean, because you know so much about music, I knew you'd bring a great album and a lot of information. And also, I just love seeing you. And thank you for driving, because I know that you drove very, very far to be here.
You're our first long-distance
Yes.
guest.
Long distance.
Thank you
well,
so much.
Yeah, my
well,
pleasure.
we had another long distance guest that happened to be in town for that, Kim Ware. But,
Sure.
But you came.
I came from down from a
down
mountain.
just for
Right.
this, just to be on our
Asheville.
show.
But
So
also,
excited.
I mean, it just shows like we love the whole idea of the show is we love music so
Yeah.
much. And it really has been around like our lives and our friendships.
Yes.
Like today is a great day having you as a guest, and half of your stories are probably whether it's college, going to shows, and again bands that she turned you on to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to have you. So,
too.
I dropped my notes.
Thank
but
you.
Let's go ahead and introduce the album that you picked, because it's great.
Yeah, that's what record did you bring?
I brought Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers, the L.A.M.F.
Which is an acronym
They're-
for like a.
MF.
I mean, this is for the kids, so I'm
Like
going to
a-
say mother effer.
Or a mofo, yeah.
Like a mofo.
Drives me
Which-
crazy
which
that
has
it's
been a lot of
A.
addition.
A has its own it's just the dumbest acronym ever. It's just it fits perfect because it's
Yes,
like
and
what
what's
what
kind-
is A an acronym? Like why do you
Right.
put a dot?
Well, he was a
it's
genius
Like
slash
A.
savant.
It's like a dot. Like it's
like-
like abbreviated A.
Abbreviated A. What does that stand for?
A.
Yeah. Like
It's got to be short for something else.
right.
Well, the whole thing is like, they put it on there's a picture of them, and they're against the brick wall, of course.
Sure.
But and they started that. But anyway, they had it spray painted on a wall behind them, and it was supposed to be like a gang thing, because they're all street tough, and they came from New York, and they're at that time was not a band that was representing in the way, kind of the drug. Can we say drug culture?
They were like, I'm not the first, but like, kind of like the first round of like scumbags, just like they was very
scum rock.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
which
like,
I love, but it was
Right.
just you're not bringing him home to meet your mother.
What's
Right.
sort of the New York like glam, like how the New York glam scene sort of evolved, and it obviously got very druggy and very scummy and like downtown New York, and that's the quintessential band. of that.
One thing I heard about, that I read about Johnny Thunders, though, is that was really like a stage persona. And even though he was very much a heroin addict, like even, not, but like that when you got to know him, he was very, very sensitive, very like, very damaged, but very sweet person from
Right.
like what a lot of people say about, his personality and that. So it's like, so I think that honestly, he maybe would be, besides the heavy heroin use, he would be the type of person you'd bring
That's
home
a good
to mother,
point.
like that.
Well, speaking
know.
of sensitive, I can't believe no one knew this. By the way, shout out to our wonderful friends at the Trackside Tavern, Brian Colantuno, Mikey Brennan, old mates of ours, from the 90s. And Trackside Tavern in Decatur, Georgia, thank you for having us. But I can't believe you guys didn't know this, but I just bought, James and I, Johnny Thunders was known to drink White Russians. And everyone's like, no, he didn't, no, he didn't. I just
haven't heard that,
I just
but-
Googled Johnny Thunders White Russians. The first thing came up, Johnny Thunders has a fit on stage because he didn't have a White Russian.
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyway, cheers,
I
James.
can picture it. I can totally picture it.
But let's hear about your
Tell us why.
Okay.
Why did you pick this? I mean, besides the fact it's great.
Well, one of the things that makes them remarkable, I think, is that, they came around at a time, they were kids who grew up in the 50s predominantly, early 60s. And they were more like, this wasn't really punk rock in the way that England had sort of said, this is
Right.
punk rock,
No,
or that the
it's got
Ramones
a
did
shot
later.
on now, rockabilly sense to it, like
Right.
a lot of 50s.
Well, Johnny Thunders he said he didn't like punk rock. That
Right.
he wasn't punk rock, he
Yeah.
didn't play punk rock.
Well, when they went over to, and this is another story, but when they were looking for a record deal and it wasn't happening in that area, part of it was, they had kind of a reputation.
Big time.
Yeah.
And then also, there was like at that time, and the airwaves were playing like Boston and all this,
A lot of bad 7-minute solos.
Yeah. So
mid 70s.
totally. So then, and they needed good management, but then they started to use Lee Black Childress, who was
Yes.
who was really in the scene way back to the late '60s, and he did a stage play called Pork. He did that production in England, so he kind of got his foot in there.
That.
Also,
yeah.
I
And
found out
that gave Ziggy Stardust his whole look, basically.
Well, Lee
Mind
Black
blown.
Childers is the one who introduced Johnny Thunders to Jerry Nolan.
Yeah.
From what I read, which but that was when they were in the Dolls.
Yeah. And anyway, it could go all over the place.
There's so much. Which
you
this
got,
episode
You got
will.
24 minutes,
Yeah.
and then you're out of here.
So
Get it in.
So they were trying to find a record deal. They were having trouble, and then Lee Black Childers got a call from what's his name, Malcolm McLaren, and who had worked with the Dolls before, and that kind of went a little like.
That didn't look too good.
Well, their last album, he dressed them all in red patent leather, and he tried to make it a big new look and concept. And
Kind of like the
didn't-
Runaways or what he became.
Yeah, well,
what
he
kinda
had
did
his
later,
sex
or-
shop and.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so then, so basically, Malcolm McLaren said, we have an offer you guys can come and you can be on the, what is it called?
Anarchy Tour.
The Anarchy Tour, yeah.
Yeah.
So they went over there and that didn't go so well. Where am I going with this?
Well, I mean,
You go
no,
you go
it
anywhere-
didn't.
you go anywhere you want with
anywhere
it.
you want, but it did. I mean, the reason it didn't go so well, which I think is like funny, and I actually saw the snippet because the Pistols, right before they got into
Yeah.
town, were on the
Grun-
Bill Grundy
On the-
show,
Yeah.
every other word
and
curse and
he.
stuff, yeah.
He said the S word.
Well, no, they said the F word.
That's right, but
And-
the
But at the end, they said all
Was it
kinds
them
of
and
words.
Pauline Black?
But he,
Pauline Black on it?
Bill Grundy was making
maybe.
some like suggestive remarks to Susie Sue, who was like a fan of theirs
Yes,
and on
yes,
the
yes,
show.
yes.
Well, yeah, that's
And
what
so
I'm saying.
they
I think
just
it was
started,
Pauline Black and Susie
it was
Sue, I believe,
yeah,
were on
and
the
so
episode.
they were
yeah.
just so they were like made a comment about how that was really tacky of him, and then he like kind of like pushed him back, and then they were just like okay, and then they just started like just spewing out like
Yeah.
like really severe, obnoxious
Right.
things, and
Yeah.
then a lot of the tour was canceled, and people were outside in megaphones like talking about how like the devil's music's in there and whatever.
Yeah.
So it was really like disappointing for them. They came all the way over.
They were starving
But-
when they got over because they weren't being fed. They weren't being paid.
Yeah, but it
For
turned
these
out
shows
good.
that got canceled and
But
so forth.
but it did turn out good because they were convinced to stay, and they did end up getting
Yeah,
the record.
they're a band that's only, and this record in particular, like, it's a band that only has gotten better with age. Like, talk about aging well.
Yeah.
And they, like other bands, like Misfits, whatever, they played in front of no one. But then years later, if they
Right,
were alive
they're
and did a
more
reunion now,
popular
it would
than
be,
they
it would be
probably ever
insanity,
were.
you know, and
Yeah.
which is wonderful and also sad. I mean, you kind of want people to sing your songs now. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
totally,
Like,
totally.
Well,
you know what I mean?
They're so good. So, talking about, and I didn't know that. I mean, I had heard songs off of this album.
So
I didn't
good,
realize I had heard songs off this album.
Yeah.
But I had. And then you picked it, and then I got it, and you were telling us about the new reissue because they found the masters, which I didn't. I learned
Yes.
that. I believe it was Lee Black Childers who blamed Jerry Nolan. Jerry Nolan wanted to be in control of the mixing.
Oh, he was so
he's
mad
like,
about
but
the
they
whole
were
thing, he
all,
quit.
They were
Right.
all. He's like they were all on
But it,
drugs.
but it
and
just
so it was
didn't
just,
master. Everything was
well,
horrible.
no,
Yeah.
it was so
That's
messed
true.
up. But then the record company said you have to have this mixed by Christmas, so that to put it out by Christmas.
So they're
we
like,
can make
well,
money.
all right,
To
and
get
then
some
Nolan
money up
quit.
front.
And Jerry Nolan was like, no, and so he left, and then. Yeah, I mean, he came back to play with them periodically, like as a side musician, but not like actually part of the band. But it was so the mix is really, really muddy.
Right.
And
over the years, there've been 50, at least, different versions.
And I'm kind
Like
of
six or
thinking of
seven,
like
like-
reviewing.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
I had what I thought was that in the '90s in C11 in the West End.
Yeah.
And I know it's probably in my parents' attic or something.
Well,
you know,
Walter
but,
Lure said that he noticed that. Oh, yeah, you're right. That there was an issue with mastering.
That's what I'm saying.
But
you
they
know.
were like, they kept trying and trying, and especially what's his name, Nolan.
Jerry Nolan.
Yeah, he was really fed up about it. But he basically.
Hi guys.
But Walter Lure said that it sounded great on tape, but the minute you put it on
Oh, yeah.
vinyl,
Yeah.
then they couldn't figure that out, and that's when they kind of realized there's a mastering issue. And
yeah.
Yeah, but but you just got you drove to Athens,
I
Georgia.
did.
And-
So the whole thing with you talked about the new one coming out, and that's the whole reason why we scheduled you for like
I
Push Your
know.
Shoot Off was to get the and then there will to get the they found the masters in an attic, so they were able to mix it the right way.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to come out on the second record store day drop.
Yep.
And then they had problems with production and shipping,
Mm-hmm.
so it didn't come out. But some people did get some. and
Some
people
stores
didn't.
in the States, but
Right.
it's not. It's trickling. We can say.
It's crazy though because I didn't realize some places were getting it on the 17th, so I just started calling around, and some people don't know when it's coming. They're saying Black
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah.
But,
Oh, yeah.
But I called-
let's talk about like where you're at now, and
I
you put it
called
on.
Walk Street. Well, I mean, mostly I'm saying this because anybody that is watching this that maybe checks out the album and loves it, it's like, please get this,
newest,
the new one, because they found the masters. I was able to locate it in Walk Street in Athens and drove to Athens to get it.
Dedication.
And you brought it to my house last
Real
night.
dedication.
I brought it to your house last night because I wanted you to be able to hear
Because
it.
so I could put it on and hear what it sounds like.
That's friendship.
And it is absolutely
And I brought it back.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It sounds so good, and it's yours.
No, stop that. No, honey,
See, we
I'm
give
gonna-
gifts
Notice.
here.
No, I'm
It
gonna
is.
get
We
it.
already decided it. Don't.
It's a gift
Don't
from
argue. I mean,
three on the
honestly,
ones and
part of it,
twos.
it was your pick, and also I know that I was probably a really
You're
crappy
just-
roommate. This is
What are you talking
This is
about?
payback for all the times I
No.
came. This is the payback for all the times I came home in the middle of the night, really, really drunk, and totally destroyed your kitchen.
I was
with
like
I want to
20.
say,
Taco
I was
Cabana.
going to say,
I
I was
was
going
like
to say,
23.
I'm
I'll
sorry.
take it.
I was going to
Take
say,
it.
I'm sorry for all the nights I came to your house. With you, wasted.
Drunk,
Wait,
messing
so
up.
I mean,
Then this is the rest of the episode
yeah,
is we're going to talk about.
So what we do in the show, and it's short and so quick, and we wish we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
But let's talk about
Let's
songs.
talk about the songs
you know,
on it
yeah,
all,
please
but
do.
this is yours. And it's amazing. So just for anybody that
Wow,
anybody that
you're
loves
the
this album, I
best.
really hope that they
You are
because
the
you heard
best.
it, and it is
I can attest that it sounds like
an album should.
a normal great album
Right.
Right.
recorded in the 70s.
doesn't-
It's like
everything's in the
and I
right
kind of like the kind of muddy grittiness of the.
Yeah.
I'm so used to that mix that now it almost is like it's too clean. Like
Yeah.
it's like, wait a minute, I can hear all this extra stuff. Where the other ones, it
too
just
sharp,
sounds like
yeah.
it's like a dubbed
It's
tape,
definitely
or
dirty,
it's
yeah.
all like smashed together. Everything
Right.
is all redlined.
Well,
It's just kind of cool in
well,
itself.
getting
But that
into-
one is really the
like
great.
definitely
I
want to
would
get into
recommend
some of the songs. And just talking
I
about
wish we
grittiness.
could hear it right now.
Yeah,
I know. They don't have
I
a
mean, I heard
turntable.
They
Born
probably
to
won't-
Lose.
Yeah, because they have
That's-
that one out online.
I mean, okay, so let's talk about that. First song, side A of a record. Boom. Slap
That
you.
was a
You
great
want to be
pick.
punched you in the. You
That
want to
was
be
a
punched in
great
the
pick.
face. I love being slapped in the face.
Yeah.
Like
that was a great
yeah.
pick to make as an opener for the album.
Yeah, I made it for my opener for my show last night because I was like,
I went to bed. Sorry.
I know it's
Were
late.
you DJing?
She has a show.
It's a radio
that's,
show.
Let us know.
Yeah,
Well,
on Saturday
how can people
nights.
check it out?
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about
Plug.
for a
Gotta
second
plug it.
their
Plug,
show.
plug.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. The plug is ashevillefm.org. And then my show is called 13 Dead Cats, and the reason why is because that's a little lyric in a Velvet Underground song. Not because I love cats.
Can't stand
Yeah,
it.
but also
Yeah.
It's from Can't
I
Stand
live
It.
in
true.
I live
in
with 13
That's
Dead
wonderful.
Cats.
and it's on at midnight on
midnight
Saturday.
to 2 a.m. on Sunday. Yeah. So
Wow.
I could say Sunday morning, but that's not as cool.
Yeah.
Well, no, we'll check
Saturday
it out.
night, Saturday
So
night.
this was the opener of your show.
Yeah, no, it's just it was clear without being too. There was one mix that Jungle put out. Like years back, and it was a little bit more like it was too polished. It was too like Hollywoody in a way. But yeah, it was. I mean, it's just really clear. Everything is distinct without being anything predominantly glaring. Jerry Nolan would be happy because his drums are
Yeah.
very
His drumming,
much-
I got to say that Jerry Nolan, as a person who plays drums, he is, and I don't know if he's really underappreciated. I feel like he
he's
is
not talked
such
about,
a
yeah.
great. He really, in the same way that Charlie Watts really makes the Rolling Stones. Like the Rolling Stones
Sure.
doesn't sound right without another
I
drummer.
agree,
I
yeah.
think Jerry Nolan for the New York Dolls and for the Heartbreakers
Yeah, for
really
Jameson.
makes the album or makes the band cohesive in a
Yes,
way.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I just wanted to plug the
Absolutely.
Jerry Nolan
Yeah.
love.
Totally.
For,
without
for-
Jerry
for this.
Nolan and Johnny Thunders, I mean, they were the two that came from the Dolls,
James.
and
Well,
they were the
those
two that came from the Dolls, and totally
Thank
said,
you,
like, let's
Brian.
start a band.
Yes.
And Richard Hell, can you join us?
Thank
for
you, Louis
Channel Left
Sandoval.
Television?
Which is like it's so crazy. Okay, so Richard Hell, like,
Okay, so you want to get into this?
I do want to
No,
get
which,
stuck with
which you
Richard
should.
Hell.
Thank you, Brian
Because,
Colantuno. Thank you, Louis
Thank you,
Sandoval,
Brian.
PBR. And can we get 4 Jamesons, please? Thank
Oh
you.
my, oh my.
It's just a
I-
fun
You have to,
time
like,
talking about rock and
consolidate.
roll and having drinks with your
I
friends.
just-
Yeah.
And that's key. You said rock and roll because
It's
they
rock
didn't
and roll.
see it as, they were.
It's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they cover Bo Diddley, and there's.
Well, Johnny Thunders was very, very influenced by like the Stones and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
That's why he says he wasn't punk.
But
Right.
also,
He
but
said,
also like Kira said, though, I mean, there's so many 50s elements.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
doo-wop and like there's
Well,
so many,
he learned I think bass first when he was like 16, and then he used to go and see like the Who and stuff like that, and Small Faces, and then when he was 17, he sat down the bass and he learned guitar, and he used to drive 8 hours to Detroit because he was super into the Detroit music scene. So he was going to see like the Stooges and MC5, and I think that's because you can hear so much of like the things that he loved in the
Absolutely.
music that he
Right.
made. Like
I just think he had, talk about appreciated or underestimated. Thank you, Brian. You really are such a beautiful
Aw,
human.
thank you.
Thank you, Jameson, for
You made
sponsoring
dreams
us.
come
Thank you,
true.
Louis Sandoval and
Thank you,
PBR
PBR.
for destroying us.
Thank you, White
Cheers,
Russians.
everybody.
that's not for me. That's her.
This is for you, lady.
All
No.
right,
So,
ready?
so nice to see you.
it.
So
Keep
this
this
is
one
what
as a-
this is what
I'll keep it.
my point I wanted to say, and I know James.
Cheers.
James and I already were finishing each other's sandwiches, sentences.
Sandwiches too, if it comes to that.
Talk about
when you talk about
underappreciated. I was gonna
just
say,
yeah,
I love his voice.
yeah.
What a cool singer! Like unbelievable. Yeah.
I just think he was like, I mean, I love just kind of like that, the energy that he exudes. And I think that a lot of it comes from, really, really being invested in loving the music that inspired him, but also just, I mean, he was a very, very hurt person, I mean,
Yes.
just from
Very
his
sensitive
upbringing, and his
guy.
dad, and his dad left very, very young, and he
Yeah.
was very, very damaged.
And his
because of that.
mom was like, she really kind of like
Yeah.
coddled him a bit.
So I mean, I think that.
I think
that
everybody
kind
coddled
of-
him a bit.
Yeah, I think he didn't pay for drinks.
No,
You
but
know,
I think
like, you
I
know.
think that part of what makes his music and everything he did like so special is really just like the hurt. Like that was his outlet for the
Sure.
hurt that he had.
Well, that's funny that you mention it because I read Viv Albertine's book from the Slits, and she was
her.
saying,
Love her.
yeah, and she
I need
was,
to read that
she was
book.
good friends with Johnny Thunders, and she, maybe more, but anyway, she was really like said the same type of stuff that he was very sensitive.
Yeah, and I don't think it can be expressed enough that the accent and the New York attitude, like, oh my, like, there's no way this band could have
Yeah.
come from anywhere else than where they came from.
Well, and Walter Lure actually was like, he was into The Who, and he was into a lot of 60s like garage rock, and then like a lot of people, garage punk didn't really happen until the Rolling Stones, and people picked up on that, and they were like, this is like dirty, and this is like,
Right,
now
yeah.
we're really like away
Yeah.
from the 50s.
Yeah,
And
right.
so they both had that, and Walter Lure used to go to shows, and he would always see Johnny Thunders all the time. And he was like, he's so well dressed, he's so cool,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And like to look at him from our perspective, it's like, yeah, he's all right. You know, but
Right.
it's the setting and everything.
Yeah.
I love that. How many wonderful bands that have like shaped and been part of like our romances and our marriages, divorces, life, like happened because a guy at school or at a show thought another guy looked cool.
Right.
Totally.
Like, I
totally.
mean, like I read like in the Beastie Boys book, Michael Diamond saying Adam Yauch was wearing combat boots and a long like Judd Nelson like overcoat. He goes, I had to meet him.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
like that's the best thing ever.
Twice
you know?
we've mentioned The Who, and so part of this album was recorded at Pete Townshend's studio.
Yeah.
And because of that, they ended up, I don't think they're credited,
Remember
but they
reading
were the background, like no
Oh.
lines in Quadrophenia.
What?
What?
See,
Yeah, that's
I
what I
didn't
read
know
somewhere.
that.
Yeah, that it's not credited, but that's how they. I believe that they said that he was actually that they were actually in it as background.
See, there's a good
Maybe-
chance they were like
maybe it was
they were
Con or
background rockers
something.
or mods. In the
I
movie.
mean,
I
it made
hope.
me. I didn't have time to, but it made me
Man,
kind of
I
like
need to
want
go
to
watch
go and like.
Quadrophenia
Yeah,
again.
right?
It's been
I mean,
forever.
for all, I mean, that's what I read.
I
mean,
believe it.
I hope everybody knows that anything that I say on this isn't Jeopardy
I
answer.
hope everybody, I hope everybody
but,
knows
I mean,
that.
It might have
I
been
hope
cut
everybody
or-
knows that Cassie does more research than all of us.
No,
We've decided that.
but I also
James
misspeak.
James knows a lot about a lot. I know a little about a lot.
I don't know much
Cassie
about
just
anything,
shoots
but I
like-
research.
Cassie just does research and shoots the shit.
Sure, I mean, but you know, the things, the little, the lot, whatever, I mean, it's all from reading or finding
Yeah.
out in some
Well, because
way.
we're I mean, again, it always comes back to why we love doing this show.
Right.
It's because we're old friends who are music nerds. That is completely what it is, and we just love talking about it. You know?
Well, I mean, I want to get into the songs, and I want to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
something controversial first. I like this version of Chinese Rocks better than the Ramones.
How is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
Dee Dee wrote it.
Is that true?
Yes, well, that's the
yeah, Dee Dee
controversy we
wrote
were
it-
gonna get into,
Dee Dee
you know.
wrote it with, well, it says credited also with Richard Hell, but from Dee Dee's
It was a
perspective,
competition.
Yeah, yeah.
Dee Dee's perspective says that Richard Hell said that he was going to write a song better than the Velvet
Underground.
Underground's Heroin, and so Dee Dee was like, out of spite, was like, no, and he
I
went home
will.
and he
Right.
did that.
Well,
So it
Dee
was
Dee
like-
actually wanted it. He dreamed of being
Yeah.
in the Heartbreakers.
He did,
but
yeah.
He, I mean, he definitely said, I think because of the New York Dolls, like he, you know, because the Ramones and everything, like
Yeah.
he'd be like, they have like the cool, the dress, the style, and
Yeah,
everything.
Talk about a
like that, and,
sensitive guy, but that's another episode.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a
totally.
huge Dee Dee Ramone
yeah,
fan.
but
you know. Yeah.
Dee Dee Ramone and everything I read, I mean, he was such close friends with
They
them
were-
and hung out with them
They
that it
stole
was
from
very.
each other probably more than songs.
But
Women,
I mean, but also
drugs,
like
you know.
the whole those two like had a lot of impact on each other. I think.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. Healthy and unhealthy.
Yeah.
You know.
Both.
Well, I mean, you know, like basically the dynamics between the different personalities and histories really constructs a lot of great albums. And
Yeah.
so therefore, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Richard Hell, and he wanted to be, he was like, I'm an artist, I'm a poet. And I love him, you know, for what he does. But
His
that
book
was
is excellent.
that was
His book is
contrary
really good.
to Johnny Thunders. Is like, no, I can't do this.
Well,
Like,
no,
I
Well,
gotta,
Johnny
I
Thunders,
gotta,
was
Johnny
like-
Thunders is like, why do you gotta tell people actions speak louder than the words? I'm just the real deal. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
the way I walk is the way I talk.
exactly.
You know?
And he was very experienced, and he was like, I can do
Here's
this.
funny.
Like this.
The funny thing I think about Richard Hell. So we did Marquee Man by Television,
Wonderful.
and
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about
A little
Richard
bit.
Hell. And so what I read about this was like he left television because he thought that they were too pretentious. But one of the reasons why he left
Richard Hell was
when he left the
pretentious.
Heartbreakers,
Yeah, right.
one of the reasons he ended up, or actually he didn't leave the Heartbreakers. Heartbreakers left him
Yeah, exactly.
because he said he wanted to sing almost all the songs. Johnny
Yeah.
Thunders could sing a couple, and
Yeah.
all of them got up and walked out, and
Yeah.
and so then he went out and made
Listen,
the Void away.
musicians
so
are funny.
It's
you know,
like
and they can be
Well, they're
selfless
very
and selfish.
sensitive,
yeah,
creative
and
creatures.
most of the time when you put somebody down, especially as an artist, what you put them down for, you probably are guilty of. You know, and so he there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but that's the I think it's funny that okay, so he says he left he left television because they were getting too pretentious, but then he kind of pulls some like
Yeah.
self-centered stuff
I think
with
he was still trying to figure it out, but then he went straight
Maybe.
on and did the Voidoids, and
Yeah.
that worked out. So.
Yeah. So I think at some point we probably should do a Void Age record just because this is the second episode that we talked a good bit about Richard Hell.
So I'm eager also to get into the songs.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, Basically, well, one thing by and large is that I love the titles of a lot of these songs because they don't sound like typical like
Wait a
punk
minute,
rock
Born to Lose is playing right now.
FU
Pretty cool.
songs,
So it works
you know?
out pretty good.
You know, it's more like here we got I Want to Be Loved and Going Steady and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but there's kind of
Do
a
You Love Me?
slant. Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's a slant. You know, I can't take my eyes off on you. I can't keep my eyes on you.
On you.
Yeah, that kind of
Play
thing.
on words and like
Well,
proper like.
speaking
you
of
know.
play on words, so
Which is
the
more
song
Born
is
to
called
Lose, Born to Lose.
Born to Lose, but
But
then on here it says Born to Lose. And it does
Exactly.
on like this is the reissue. So it
Well,
has on the
people were taking it. It was Born to Lose, and they were like, a lot of fans were like, "Oh, Born to Lose," and they're like, "That's kind of cool."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'll give it
It's like a
that.
That kind of
Totally.
goes to like the whole Slade idea of just making fun of your own
Without a doubt.
song titles.
Right.
and
Again, too,
manipulate.
like the accents, you know,
Yeah.
you almost need subtitles sometimes with some of those, when you
and-
hear them talking. in
And maybe you
dialect.
guys agree with me on this, but like, maybe a lot of people watching this, I don't know. But like the "Do You Love Me" song. I'm sorry, but Dirty Dancing, like just ran that to the I just heard it entirely too much because that movie. This version I like so much better than the original.
without
Well, yeah, by the
Like, just so
contours
much
because
better.
he was. Yeah, I mean that's again, that's hearkening back to his
Yeah.
His
early
roots.
days.
And,
yeah.
and I'm listening to this now playing, and I'm singing "Born to Lose."
Yeah. Born to
I'm
Lose.
totally singing
Born
"Born
to
to
Lose.
Well, and talk about a play on words. You got New Bomb Turks doing "Born to Loose" track. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
they were having even more fun with that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? I mean, if you could
Yeah.
say what is your top song from the
Oh,
album?
geez. Oh, gosh. I would say probably, if not Born to Lose, because that's the obvious pick.
Instead of anthem.
No,
Yeah,
I mean that's
right?
okay because I was going to pick it.
Sure.
I mean,
I mean,
it's
it's
just
a great-
listen. Sometimes
great
you got to go for the hits.
I
It's a
think,
great track.
I don't know, One Track Mind is pretty awesome.
I One Track Mind did like a punk or ska band like cover that in like the 90s because it sounds it has I love that one.
They make
Yeah.
half of this album is like an anthem. I mean, it's just like the greatest hits in one album.
I was gonna say,
it's just
so
like
we-
how
we-
universal of an album.
We
can
don't
be made.
do this on every episode. But,
Yeah.
But I love asking this. Is it a perfect or close to a perfect album?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it is. It's rock and roll. It's
it's
anthemic as hell.
The
you know?
only imperfect stuff makes it perfect, really, because
Well, I'm a big
like,
fan
it's a
of.
punk rock record.
I
it's not gonna
say
be
this like
polished.
every third or fourth episode. Sorry, guys. But like my favorite singers are Otis Redding and Marvin Gaye, and I don't like when they sound polished. I like
Yeah.
when they're out of their mind. They've been up
Yeah.
for 4 days and their voices are cracking.
Oh,
and
I
they're going out of
agree.
key.
I
like that.
agree.
So like that's the stuff that you want. You want the dirt under the fingernails, and like there's a lot of dirt under the
This
fingernails.
is Lower East Side. I mean,
Big
and
time.
that's what they were. I mean, that's what they were living. They were living close to Alphabet City, and they actually kind of bonded with Richard Hell of all people.
I want to give
mean,
a shout out to
through
Greg
drugs.
Pate real quick. He's
Hi,
so
shout out
beautiful.
Greg
Love
Pate.
him.
Is it time for us to do a
Yeah,
record?
he's just he's been
11?
doing jumping jacks.
It's not time, but wait, we haven't even covered. I love this
I
one.
know. What do you want me to do?
I don't know.
The producer just did a handstand and said, "You're running out of time,"
I have
which means
authority
we need
over
to
the-
have you back. Can we have you back?
Yeah, I'd love to come
it is so
back.
good to
Can
see
you
you.
come stay?
So I don't know if you know.
Forever.
I don't know if you know what we do here.
We always have a letter.
We started this thing. We started this idea right here in that booth. Hi there. We right in this booth, and we were hanging out for Cassie's birthday. And the next day, I was just like, man, I love talking about music with my friends. And I put on Facebook, I want to drink Guinness and talk about my favorite records with Cassie and James Cole, 3 on the 1s and 2s. And we got like 200 comments. And the next thing you know, like Jameson's like, we'll sponsor you. Thank you, Trackside Tavern. And now we have people writing in letters to us. So we don't read these letters. Like I said, the whole idea is fly on the wall, no edits. So sorry if we don't have,
No edits. Just make up whatever you
we
want.
don't have the best. All $2 words here on a Sunday. Oh man, it's upside down. Sorry about that. Man, White Russians.
Yeah, White Russians on
this
Sunday
is-
afternoon.
Oh, this
Yay.
is
Here we go.
This is weird and serendipitous. That's my $30 word for the day. This is from Jenny Thunders. That's crazy. And she goes, with school starting soon, what are the songs that remind you of going back to school or your school days? I want to ask our guest Kira that.
Okay, I thought a little bit about this. I had no knowledge of that letter. Anyway, yeah. No,
I love it.
yeah, no, I would say TVI is probably a
Oh,
song that
nice.
reminds me of being young.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't realize this until a little later, but I read Please Kill Me, and actually TVI,
Another great book.
they were talking about, it actually is Twat Vibe I.
What?
Yeah, so it's like whenever Iggy would get the Twat Vibe I.
All these abbreviations. What is yours?
And I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, I would just like just thinking of. I went through so many phases in like say high school, because when I think of school, I think high school.
Yes.
And I went through so many phases where it's like I'd be listening to like mostly ska, or mostly goth, or mostly industrial, or mostly, but like for some reason, Icicle Works, just the song "Whisper to a Scream."
Beautiful song.
For some, like I think that I believe it came out like one of my years of high school, and I remember playing on the radio station in Berkeley, like the college station, where they played like a lot of that, and I just that song makes me feel high school. Whenever I
love
I
that.
hear it, it makes me feel like I was, like
What about you?
teenage again.
Yeah, I think it's similar. Like, I went to high school in sort of northern Atlanta suburbs, and kind of a rednecky type, especially around that time period.
Right.
And I can remember like me and my friends driving out in my Honda, and we would always play like kind of two-tone type ska
Oh,
or
wow.
whatever, like the antithesis of whatever would have been
Man,
like,
Yeah.
I'm totally,
I'm
totally gonna show my
sort of
age.
thing.
Yeah.
So it's whatever, like some specials or something like
Well, we
that.
love
Yeah.
the specials
or
here.
Selector
We
or-
will
That made me
eventually.
think of another
Yeah.
one that always makes me think of high school. It's New York. Is it New York Citizens? Pounding the pavement.
Yeah,
Always
yeah,
Pounding the
yeah.
Pavement.
Great
That
song.
always
It might be
makes
their only
me-
good song, but
that
it's a
makes
good
me.
song, yeah.
But it
They
does
have
make
some
me
great
feel
songs.
Man, I was
like-
gonna say Alice Cooper School's out for the summer, which means leaving school. But
Right.
also that's me showing that I'm probably, excuse me, the oldest man at this table.
Well, but did you see?
But Alice
but-
Cooper is so underrated.
But did you?
underrated.
But did
too.
you?
Like,
I
he's
agree.
But did you
wonderful.
see Alice Cooper as a toddler?
No.
Because I did.
No, I
What
didn't.
are you
Oh,
talking
you did.
about?
You did
My
see,
mom
yeah.
was like my mom was she was 20
Oh,
when
my
she had
parents were
me.
so
and would
good back then.
always,
Okay, but I
like,
will
take
say
me,
this:
like,
if I was
shows
a
and-
young hipster in high school now, I would say "Getting Back Into You" by the Silver Jews. I want to say that I love love.
and you choose awesome.
I choose awesome. I love Johnny Thunders. I love the L.A.M.F. record.
love this album.
I love everyone at this table. Trackside Tavern. My name is Tom. James.
Yeah.
Cassie.
Kira.
Kira. Thank you so much. So wonderful to see
Kira,
you.
not,
thank you so
not
much.
Kara. We don't know who she is.
Yeah, right.
Who's Kara?
Yeah.
We love Kara.
And 13 Dead Cats.
And,
Yes.
13
Listen
Dead
to
and
our
Sister
show.
Ann, who's
Yeah.
just hovering.
Yes, check it out. We love doing this. We hope you guys love watching and listening. And
I love it too.
Thank you.
be on the ones and twos.
Be on the
White
ones and
Russians.
twos.
Oh, this goes out to Ken from the Bronx. Love you, buddy.
White Russians.
Ken from the Bronx.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny. Cheers.
Cheers.